So a while ago, I bought the Razer Kraken V3 Hypersense. I usually don't want to buy like a lot of gaming headsets anymore because there's just no competition with dedicated hi-fi studio headphones. Um, but still, I try to keep up with like some stuff I may be interested in, and this one actually has the Hypersense feature, which is kind of an haptic driver unit. So basically, it vibrates when there's like a certain bass frequency. And I've had this like a few years ago with some MSI headset, and it wasn't really, it was kind of funny, but not really that good. And I wanted to see how far the feature has come till now. So I bought this and decided to make a review about this. So let's start with build quality. So knowing the older Razer Krakens, I was kind of expecting the V3 versions to be the same kind of plasticky and kind of cheaply made. I had the, not me, but a friend, the Razer Kraken X USB, like it's some kind of, it's just an older Razer headset, and that one was like just awful, just like a really cheaply feeling plastic headset. So I was kind of expecting the same for that one, but actually it's not. Does feel really solidly made. Like, do you have some kind of metal sliders and yokes? Like these things here actually feel really good, and it's kind of, it's not heavy, but it's way heavier than what I usually expect from gaming headsets. Feels kind of bulky, but at the same time really solid. The plastic they used for like the ear cup materials and basically the rest here does feel pretty good too. Like, I think if you drop these, nothing will happen here. And yeah, I'm actually kind of happy with the build quality on this one. Otherwise, you have the typical Razer Kraken look with these round ear cups and the RGB here. It doesn't creak at all. Like, there's no clicking or anything here. And again, I can't believe I'm saying this about a Razer headset, but this feels well built. One thing though, it's just so disappointing that they were able to make this headset and then came up with this shitty cable, which is easily, like really, by far the worst cable I have ever used with any device. It's extremely stiff, and you can already see it right here. These things, they just don't go away. You can do this and then it will tangle up again. Really, I tried to untangle it so many times and it just doesn't work. Like, I don't know. You don't have to use a good cable. Just use a normal, standard, rubberized cable and it's fine. Why do you have to use this thing here? It's, to be honest, I was thinking about keeping them, but because the cable is non-detachable, I just cannot deal with this. So let's go on with comfort. To me, these are reasonably comfortable. They kind of have like a clamping force, but it's kind of average, I would say. Like, they are not tight or anything. And they are definitely not as light as the former Krakens, or like, I think they are not as light as like a lot of other Razer headphones and headsets and whatever. These feel kind of bulky on your head, but the weight seems to be distributed pretty well. Like, I have no pain on the head when I put these on. I kind of need to put these down when I'm talking because the noise isolation is pretty strong. So yeah, the weight seems to be distributed really well, and there's like no hot spot here, and the headband is pretty cushy. You have this kind of cloth material that feels really nice, actually. You have your typical Razer Kraken ear cups with like this huge padding, which is a mixture of like this fake leather on the outside and again some cloth material on the inside, which helps to not heat up your ears. I think it works pretty well. The padding does absorb most of the clamping force, and sometimes maybe because of the overall bulkiness, it kind of starts to hurt a bit on your ears, but that mostly disappears after a while. I think that's just what you have to deal with, like most close bags, because they are pretty noise isolating, and this can, I don't know, this just feels kind of weird for me after a while. Additionally, the cooling gel that they put into the padding seems to work like for the first 15 to 20 minutes, which is actually what most people say who use headphones with like cooling stuff in the padding. It works for the first 15 minutes and then it heats up as like any other padding. But yeah, because of the cloth material on the inside, it's actually not bad. I don't think I've ever sweat in these. And so yeah, that's kind of cool. And definitely a step up from the former Krakens, which had either no clamping force and they didn't form a seal. They just felt like really clunky on your head. So yeah, actually not bad. So before I get to the sound section, just a few things about like the other stuff that comes with using a Razer headset. Everyone knows Synapse, the software that Razer is using, and I think it's an okay program, and I will not really show anything because it's not really difficult to use. You get your typical EQ that you get with like a lot of other Razer headphones and their software and various options to modify the sound of your headset and microphone. And I will show like 1 or 2 microphone options later. But yeah, furthermore, you get your THX spatial audio, which is basically Razer's surround sound simulation, but I never use these. I just, maybe it's a little bit better for footsteps and everything, but I just think they changed the sound so much to the worse. I don't really bother with that. Regarding sound, well, it's your typical Razer gaming headset, so you better do not expect studio headphone sound quality. The typical Razer Kraken sound is pretty bassy, and the Hypersense is no exception. Especially the high bass is like really boosted, and of course, like it bleeds into the mid range like a lot. Basically, everything sounds like an explosion. Like you have this boom in every sound. It's everywhere. Furthermore, the upper mid range are recessed, so that contributes even more to the really veiled and boomy sound. So regarding music, it all sounds like you would listen through a pipe filled with like wool and a blanket put over your ears. And it's just, yeah, the recession goes on in the treble region too, but not as much as with older Razer headsets. I actually looked up like some frequency responses of older Krakens and they were even worse. So, in fact, being a Razer Kraken headset, it's actually like a step up from the usual Razer Kraken sound. So yeah, I really would not suggest to buy these for music listening, except you want to use them only for electronic music, synthwave, and yeah, just like electronic wave music or hard bass, whatever. Like this really hard hitting and even kind of melodic electronic music that works fine with these because you do not need a lot of treble or a lot of soundstage for that. But listening to other music genres, if there are more than 3 instruments playing, it's like it's everything mushed together. If there are 2 guitars or several bass instruments, it's over. For really simple rock music though, it's kind of okay. Just pronounces the bass guitar like a lot. It's a gaming headset, so I don't need to talk about like detail retrieval or anything. It's not that good. So obviously you would buy these for gaming. But actually the experience does not differ that much. It's just, for me, it just does not sound clear enough with dialogue and just music. Even if you get used to it, you have this bassy veil over everything. So that's kind of annoying. But you also did not buy these for their sound quality. You bought these for Hypersense, like I did. Otherwise, you would have gone with the normal version or maybe with the wireless version, whatever. You bought the Hypersense to get your ear, head, whatever shaking feature. So you actually have 3 levels of the strength of the vibration. And the first level actually makes listening to electronic music again kind of really cool. Actually, it gets kind of intense, and there's like the fake feeling that there is like a sub bass there. It's just a fun gimmick, and I actually enjoyed it more than I would have thought before. It gets kind of annoying after like 30 minutes because it's kind of distracting. Like after a while, you maybe after you enjoyed the vibration, you kind of, man, I want to listen maybe to music a little more, and it just does not go away. The second level is already really strong, but still usable. Like it's if you got used to the first level, you can use the second level, and it's kind of cool again for the same kind of music, and actually for FPS gaming, like with first person shooter, it's I actually kind of awesome with the vibration whenever there's like a gunshot or an explosion. It's really intense, and again, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It absolutely does not work for any kind of music that is not electronic music with like several instruments playing. The hypersense will not always kick in. Like sometimes when the drums are playing, you will feel a vibration. Sometimes when the bass guitar reaches into that frequency, it will vibrate, but not always. And that's even more distracting. Like with electronic music, you have this beat and it will vibrate in the rhythm, but it just does not work with other music. It is somehow okay with like some RPGs, like sometimes with like soundtracks. It will distract from dialogue, but usually when there's dialogue, there is not there's not a sound there that requires the hypersense to kick in. And sometimes it's when you're playing FPS and you have like these big soundtracks, then it kind of works sometimes. But again, it distracts after maybe half an hour, because it will kick in at times where it's just weird. I can imagine games like Uncharted, for example, like action RPGs. Like that will be a really cool experience. And going back to the levels of strength of vibration, the third level will make like your head shake. It's overwhelmingly strong, and the step up from the second level to the third level, it's like the first is here, the second is here, and then the third is like somewhere in the sky. I did look at the other Kraken headsets from this lineup, like the normal V3 and the V3 Pro. They do not differ that much in sound, at least looking at the frequency responses. They are kind of similar. I think the cheapest one, the V3X or something, that's really bad actually, but the other ones are kind of similar. I really do not see a need to buy one of these. Like the Hypersense is maybe a feature you can enjoy, but they are just better headsets there for the price, and especially when talking about sound. I have a microphone test here. Actually, the microphone is kind of cool. It's pretty flexible. It's not very rigid. See for yourself. Here are the microphone tests. This is a basic recording of the microphone of the Razer Kraken V3 Hypersense without any modifications active in Synapse. There is an option to activate some noise cancelling for the microphone, so I will now use my keyboard without that option and afterwards with the noise cancelling enabled. So this is how it sounds when you do not have anything active. And this is how it sounds with the microphone noise cancelling enabled. There's also an option to boost the voice quality, which I have already enabled with this recording here. Again, it's just a really average microphone. And I feel like the option to boost your voice quality kind of makes it louder because it is pretty quiet. Like I had the microphone like right in front here from in front of my mouth, and it's still not loud or anything. So should you buy the Kraken V3 Hypersense? I guess not. If you really, really want to use the feature, I guess then. But the cable alone, I did not think that a cable would be a reason for me to not buy a device. Here, it's like that. Like the cable is so bad and the sound does not really make up for that. Nothing about this headset makes up for anything. It's a gimmicky, cool feature for a while, but the sound is just not there. There's better stuff around. Even the really the long time classic like the HyperX Cloud 2, they are better than this one. I think Rocket has some headsets too, like the Elo and the Elo Air, and just there are just so many around here that are cheaper and better. So yeah, I think was not really a positive review, but think about that what you want. Goodbye.